Rafael Fiziev, he bounced back in a major way, didn't he? Good God Almighty, boy. What I said in the previous show, I'm like, hey, Rafael Fiziev, if it's the time for redemption arc, now is the time, and he bounced back in a major way. And by the way, I told y'all niggas, now y'all see why. Now, weight class to weight class is subjective. You know, you're gonna like what you like. Everybody have their own different opinions and what they like. But now y'all see why that flyweight is my personal weight class, my personal favorite weight class. And not just because I'm skinny and, well, now me on the weight scale, if I was a fighter, I would be at 145 at featherweight. But that's beside the point. Flyweight is one of my favorite, is not one of, it's the favorite weight class for me for a reason. And Sulev, what was the Sulev stretch? One of the rarest, you know, it's been a while. It happened in the UFC, I believe, like a long time ago, but it's very rare you see that type of submission in the UFC, and Sulev put on a masterclass. And by the way, I don't care what other fight we got going on after this, the rest of the year, you know, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway International Fight Week, we got the announcement of Fluffy and RoboCop, Islam and Ian Gary. Sulev, what we just saw this afternoon, submission of the year, bro. Bar none, hands down, submission of the year. But it's your boy DHP. This is my official UFC Baku review. So I'm gonna go over the main card and the winners, and then we're gonna talk about the fights, because we got some talking, we got some shit to discuss in this one. So Rafael Fiziev took a early second round TKO finish over Manuel Torres. Shara took a 3-round decision against Michelle Pereira. That fight, oh my God, we're gonna get to that fight when it's time, bro. Cause that, we're gonna get to it. Mathis Camilo, what that nigga Big X say? Bruh. If you didn't know his name, then, like me, cause I didn't really know who he was. Now we know, cause, bruh, we gonna get to that fight when it's time, cause Lord Jesus. Sulev took a 3-round decision over Charles Johnson, and Charles Johnson, he just got outclassed, bro. Very outclassed. It's crazy to think that Charles, I might gotta put him in that category with my nigga Paul Craig, cause y'all know with Paul Craig, he beaten Megami Unklev and Jamal Hill, 2 niggas at light heavyweight who became champions. The one nigga ended up beating Alex Pereira to get the belt. The other one, Jamal Hill, he capitalized on the hot potato-ness of light heavyweight. Light heavyweight's been, ever since John retired, well, not retired, but when John left to go to heavyweight, you know, light heavyweight's pretty much been in limbo as far as like hot potato, and like he gets a belt, he gets a belt, he gets a belt, he gets a belt. Behind the imaginary person behind me gets a belt type shit, up until Alex Pereira started, you know, his little dominant run. But case in point, I might gotta say Charles Johnson is like another Paul Craig, where somehow, some way he beat, you know, in Paul Craig's case, he beat 2 former light heavyweight champions. Charles Johnson has beaten the current champ, or he's beaten a nigga who is now the current champion, Joshua Van, and then Lonier Kavanaugh, who's in the top 6, top 7, and like 1 fight away from actually getting his name in title contention. That's crazy. That's crazy to think that he beat both of these niggas, and Charles Johnson is no bum. The nigga is he's a good fighter, but when you fight, as I always say, when we talk about like Neil Magny's, the Jeff Neals, the even like Jim Miller to a degree. You know, Jim Miller, one of the pioneers for the UFC in the sport of MMA. But Jim Miller, he was a beast, but you can tell like throughout his career, when he fought the elite of the elite, you know, that's where he gets demolished. Charles Johnson. We're going to have to put Charles Johnson in that category where he's good. He's a solid top 15, bottom half. I'll say 10th through 15th top quality opponent. But once he fights the elite of the elite, that's where you see where he don't got it. You know what I mean? Ikram Aliskerov pretty much dominated Bruno Ferreira, took a 3-round decision, and Abyss took a crazy submission over Michael Alexisk. But going to the main event, I said that he needed, Rafael Fiziev needed to bounce back because of the Mauricio Rufy situation. He lost against Mauricio Rufy. But then, Justin Gaethje, he took, now, as I said in the video before the previous show, Justin Gaethje proved that he's just better in that second fight. But that first fight was pretty close. But this fight right here, from the start, and the crazy thing about it was Rafael was the better kickboxer, but Manuel Torres was the better boxer. And you can tell right away, Rafael, as he came out the gate, he started off way fast. And credit to, I forgot who said it on commentary, but Rafael, he was right. He waited, and that, if you go and you really go back and look at that Mauricio Rufy fight, Rafael was really, he was reactive more than, being the aggressor. And that's what made the shit close with Justin Gaethje was, he was actually the aggressor against Justin Gaethje, and add that with his speed, with his punching speed and kicking speed, he gave Justin Gaethje all he wanted. So then Mauricio Rufy, it's like he was kind of thrown off with how his stance. Mauricio got his hands down. He's in that karate kickboxing stance. So I think Rafael Fiziev was just trying to download data to see how he could attack him. But, it was too late. When somebody like Mauricio Rufy, when he gets in his little, and I guess this is what they call it nowadays, the flow state. I guess that's the new word for 2026 moving forward. But when Mauricio Rufy, he gets situated and he gets in his flow state, ain't really nothing you can do. Ask Michael Chandler, ask Bobby Green. So in that fight, Rafael Fiziev, he was just being reactive and not being aggressive. This fight, what we just saw a couple minutes ago, right out the gate, he came the aggressor. He was attacking Manuel Torres' legs. He was actually hurting him with the calf kicks and the low kicks. But Manuel Torres, he had the stiff jab that actually hurt Rafael Fiziev a couple times, and then one more stiff jab towards the end of the round. That, tell you the truth, low key, if they had more seconds on the clock, I wouldn't doubt that Manuel now, what if he, could have Manuel Torres actually finish Rafael Fiziev then? I don't think so, but when the fight go back on archive, when the fight gets uploaded to archive, and I'm pretty sure it's on archive right now, Manuel Torres actually stunned Rafael with that last jab towards the end of the last couple seconds. I think it was like 1 or 2 seconds to go. But he really stunned him with that jab. I feel like there was more time on the clock. Manuel Torres would have put on a barrage of strikes to try to get him out of there, because he was actually more hurt. Go re-look at the footage when the fight goes on archive. Rafael was actually stunned. But that second round, and also the ground, like Rafael had in the first round, going back to the first round for a minute, Rafael had a nice level change to get the fight to the ground, and Manuel Torres, which, you could tell right away that Manuel, he was getting comfortable with his boxing, because Manuel Torres got good BJJ in jiu-jitsu. So the fact that he was, he made the right, transitioning to get back on the feet, and then when he got back on the feet, he sprung right back up. That lets me know that Manuel Torres was comfortable with his boxing to stay there and trade with Rafael. But going to that second round, within that first 10 seconds, that first 5-10 seconds, Rafael came with a crazy. It was almost as crazy as Mauricio Rufy did to Bobby Green. Except Mauricio Rufy was so damn fast that you didn't even think that shit hit him. But you saw Rafael Fiziev, that shit hit Manel Torres right on the guard, bro. Like Manel Torres had his guard up, but that kick still grazed his head right there and knocked off his equilibrium. And then Manel Torres got up. Rafael put on, a barrage of finish the fight type strikes, and then Manel Torres fell right back down, and that's all she wrote. Rafael Fiziev with some TKO strikes and got the dub. So this goes to what I've been saying. Like now is really the opportunity, because it low key could be the opposite, and we're gonna talk about it more on Monday. But this legit could be the opposite of a gatekeeper, because a gatekeeper position, like the Max Holloways, the Misha Tates, the Joseph Benavidez, where the nigga that's champion, you lose to. Now the crazy thing about this shit, and I ain't really think about this at first, but he lost to Gaethje twice, right? But it was never for the belt. He lost to him on just strictly like ranking positioning. And I think the second time, if I'm not mistaken, the second fight that they had, I don't think it was like a full fight count. I might be mistaken, but if I can remember correctly, the second fight when they had the rematch, I don't think it was a full fight count. So after this video, I might have to go recheck. But now that I'm thinking about it, Gaethje beat Rafael Fiziev for just ranking positioning. They never fought for a title. So that goes even further down the rabbit hole of my narrative of it could be the opposite way, where okay, the nigga lost twice to Gaethje, but somehow, some way, low key, he can get back in title conversation. Make it happen like that because they never fought for the title. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We're gonna talk about it more on Monday, but we'll see. Now, no, he should not be in conversation for the title right now. But I think y'all should get what I'm trying to say. He's putting himself in position to fight for the title as long as Gaethje is up there. But man, honestly, this fight panned out, and I'm gonna have to go re-listen to my previous show. But this fight actually panned out like I thought it would. I felt like whoever gets their shots first, type shit, was gonna win the fight. So Rafael Fiziev got the TKO stoppage against Manel Torres. Manel Torres, to be quite honest, bro, like, yeah, he lost this fight right here. We're gonna talk about him more on Monday too. But honestly, he showed some promise. Like, if you didn't know, I knew about Manel Torres, but if you didn't know about Manel Torres before, even with a loss, to me, he showed me a lot of shit, bro. Because he already got the BJJ and the jiu-jitsu down pat. It's still hitting now. That side needs to be more improved, but his boxing, it can go a long way at lightweight. It can go a long way at lightweight. But the co-main event, Shara Michelle Pajeda. Let me tell you, this fight low key went the way I didn't think it would go, but then it went the way I thought it would go. It was like 50-50. 50-50 that 50% was that it went completely south of what I talked about in my previous show. Then the other 50% went to the way I thought it would go. But before we even get to like the rounds, this fight, y'all haven't played. Obviously, some of y'all niggas is video gamers. Y'all play the UFC games, right? If you ever did, because I do this all the time, especially when I'm just bullshitting around and just idling. and just got some on just for background noise or whatever. Y'all ever played the UFC games and just put it on AI and just have the two AI fights? That's how this fight was, bro. Like UFC 4, when I was doing this shit on UFC 4, and then obviously some of y'all OG followers of the account, y'all see me do it on UFC 5. By the way, I'm gonna get UFC 6 later on. Not right now, but I'm gonna get it later on, so I'm gonna show y'all gameplay. Maybe like the next month or two, I'll get it and show y'all niggas gameplay. But I used to do this all the time in UFC 4 and UFC 5. Just have the fucking AI just play in the background and shit. This fight reminded me so much of how the AI operates in the game, where it's activity during the fight, but then there's times where it's a lot of just sitting around and stalling, and then there's times where it's like the fighter logically, game wise, it's not fighting the way it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, I can't really explain it. Y'all niggas, the niggas that do the shit I do sometimes with the AI, y'all would know what I'm talking about. Because sometimes the shit is just comical what the AI be doing against each other. But it's funny how, I don't want to go too off the deep end with this, but it's funny how when you play the AI, when it's user versus the AI is so fucking tough to beat, and they actually play smart. But when it's AI versus AI, they do some of the dumbest, like, wackiest shit, where it's like the fucking gameplay and the mechanics of the game is ass. You know what I mean? This how this fight was, Michelle Pajeda and Charlotte. I mean, there was times in this fight where I'm like, I see the openings, bro. I see the openings, and like, especially, so the first round, Michelle, he actually caught Shara off guard with a nice straight that sat Shara down, and then he just pretty much dominated Shara on the ground from here on out. But that second round, Michelle Pajeda, he didn't want to throw nothing. And Shara, he just did all he wanted to do with, you know, with the calf kicks, the low kicks, the oblique kicks, the side kicks, the side teep kicks to the stomach to push him back. And Michelle Pajeda didn't really do nothing, but there was times in that second round where I'm like, Shara, you got this nigga where you want him. He's not throwing any output because he might be tired from, you know, the for whatever reason. And the crazy thing is, in the first round, when Michelle pretty much is maintain and control Shara on the ground, that first round after the knockdown, Michelle Pajeda didn't really put, you know, a lot of output on the ground. You know, like Khamzat or Khabib or I'm not gonna say Islam, because Islam is not. He's a nigga that he's patient, but who's a nigga that put or Kevin Lee at one point in time, Tony Ferguson, Frankie Edgar, Sean Shirt, like those type niggas, like, when they got you on the ground and they real grounded. Or Clay Guida's another one. Tito Ortiz, like those niggas, they try to put some volume into their ground strikes. Michelle Pajeda, they ain't really put out a lot of, you know, ground and pound strikes. Where and if you look at the significant strikes in that first round, the shit was like, it should have been way more than what the fuck it was. Like, the significant strikes, and they do add, if it's very significant on the ground, they do add ground strikes to the significant total. But Michelle Pajeda had 29 in the first round to Shara's 24. That should tell you right there, Michelle Pajeda didn't really put a lot of output on the ground. So I'm like, for some reason he's tired. He didn't put a lot of output on the ground. So I'm like, okay, Shara, you just gotta, and Den Thomas, and shout out to Den Thomas because he said it too. He said that Shara needed to capitalize because Michelle Pajeda's not really doing nothing. But and by the way, I felt like, not the segment, but I felt like the commentary was a little bit off today, because I forgot who said it. Paul Felder, he said something about Shara, you know, he needed to stop kicking because, you know, that first round was, you know, the first round was what it was. It was what it was with that first round. So he needed a dominant performance, and I think he was still under the impression that that first round might have been a 10-8. So Paul talking about that Charlotte needs to stop kicking. No, it was. I disagree. He should have stayed kicking, because him, calf kicking, oblique kicking, and the side teeth kicks to the body. It was not only was Michel Pereira, it was getting Michel Pereira tired, but it was disrupting his rhythm. Because when you already tired, you're sloppy anyway. And Michel Pereira and Shara keeping his distance like that, Michel Pereira really couldn't get the rhythm and the distance down pat. But I did feel like Shara, especially in that second round, he needed to go to the body more. He was destroying Michel Pereira's leg, which was fine, because it low-key limited his ability to, even though he was still moving around, it still low-key limited his fast lateral movement. And by the way, Shara definitely needs to work on cutting off the octagon, because there was multiple times in that second round where I feel like if Shara had better, if he cut off the octagon better, he could have kicked the hell out of Michel Pereira, and leading to what I wanted Shara to do. I wanted him to kick to the body or go to the body much more. But if Shara would have cut off the octagon, honestly, my personal opinion, the way this fight panned out, Shara could have got a second round finish. If Shara would have just cut off the octagon and just kept kickboxing, he would have trapped Michel Pereira and he would have got him out of there in the second round. That's what I think. But going into that third round, it was pretty much anybody's fight, and then Shara just did what he did and just technically, and this what I said, where it was like 50-50, where it was like 50% of the fight went south of what I've said it was gonna go down, and then the 50% went exactly how I thought it would. Because after that first round, and then some of the second round, but most of the third round, that's where I was like, this is why I picked Shara, because he's more of the technical boxer and kickboxer, and that's what it was, bro. Other than that first round, Michel Pereira really got outboxed and he got out kickboxed. So it is what it is. Now moving forward, I'm interested. I'm interested to see like what the rank is gonna be. Cause now with the AI shit, bro, the AI meta shit, I don't want to keep talking about the rankings, because every time I talk about the rankings, it pisses me off. But I'm very interested in seeing how this shit gonna play about, because Bo Nickel jumped ahead against, Bo Nickel, he went like the 12th rank off of beating Cal Ducasse. But Shara, because Shara only lost one time? Yeah, Shara only lost one time. So it's kind of like, where the fuck is Shara ranked at? Because Michel Pereira, now, at one point in time, Michel Pereira was like 15th, 14th, 13th rank, I believe. I'm gonna have to go back. Last year, he was in the rankings. He was in the bottom half of the top 15. So with Shara only losing one time, and that was towards what? MVP? With Shara only losing one time, and he beat somebody like Michel Pereira, what did that put Shara at? You know what I mean? But I'm very interested to see where they go. We're going to talk about it more on Monday, obviously. But I'm very interested to see where they go from here with Shara. But third matchup with Nazim Satkov and Matthias Camillo. Oh, my God. And the crazy thing about this matchup was the commentary. This is why I said the commentary was, like, off, bro. Because the whole before that nasty fucking straight that put Nazim on his ass, they was pretty much praising Nazim like he wasn't like he was just from the start of the bell, he was just on Matthias' ass. Like, I want to look at the stats. Hold on, let me see. Exactly what I thought, bro. Cause from this nigga Matthias, he threw. Let me give y'all this. Let me give y'all the stats real quick, because the whole time the whole time they was sitting there praising Nazim, and they exchanged a couple strikes, but Nazim never once landed. And then Matthews, he was, you know, taking Nazim's legs away with the low kicks, to the point where Nazim kept switching stance. He switched stance like twice. So listen to the stats, bro. Total strikes. Nazim, he threw 16 total strikes, landed 0. 16, and obviously with total strikes, significant strikes was 16 as well, landed 0. Nigga, when the fight is on the archive, go back and listen to how the commentary was, bro. And when they was exchanging for that little bit before that knockdown, they was praising Nazim so much you would have thought that he landed everything, and he didn't land a goddamn thing. So I was like, and this is why I said the commentary was low key off, not even low key, high key off throughout the whole joint. Other than that Suabalve shit, everything was just, I'm like, come on, y'all. This is why I need to go back to not watching the fights with volume. I just need to watch and go back to watching the fights with no volume at all. Cause the fucking, I'm telling you, if you didn't look at the stats, you'd have think that Nazim landed like a couple times before that knockdown. But Matthews, he was tearing Nazim's legs up to the point where he kept switching stance twice. I counted like two. It might have been one more time, but twice. And then Matthews with that nasty straight left. Was it a left? Yeah, it was a nasty straight left. And oh God, boy, crumbled Nazim to the point where his fucking legs and knee buckled. And then, you know, he went for the finish the fight strikes, and he claimed it was early stoppage, but he ducked, right? He ducked while Matthew was just hammer fisting. He hammer fisted like 4 times before the ref stopped, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good stoppage, bro. Because I can understand if Nazim was covering up, but then he let his guard go to try to hold on to Matthews to pull guard or something. I can understand that, because now you trying to weather the storm and trying to maneuver, each position and shit like that. But he was just like this, like the whole time, and Matthew was just hammer fisting. I'm like, yeah, low key. Now I would have let it. Now I would have let the fight continue on just a little bit longer, because I think it was like 4 strikes. I would have gave Nazaruddin at least 2 more, at least 2 more, because I feel like it's a fine line, bro. And tell you the truth, I might make a video about this in its own, but it really is, because this goes back to even like last week and the past couple weeks, with the Herb Dean and Alex Pereira situation. But I think this shit don't get talked about enough. But it is a fine line of like what's an early stoppage and what's a late stoppage. You know what I mean? It's really a fine line, like, because at the end of the day, these are split decisions in which I don't. Now Mario Yamasaki, he was a different case because he didn't know shit and he had a repeated history of not, But I don't tend to judge a referee all that often, because at the end of the day, it is a split decision or a split second decision. And at the end of the day, these niggas trying to look at the fighters. Now, granted, my perspective always gonna come from a fighter. It always come from a fighter. But I've taken, like, the past couple years, whatever, I've taken a step back and looked at both sides of the equation. So, but without going too deep with it, because we're gonna save it for another video for a different time. But it was a good stoppage. It was a good stoppage because he was like this, like, what I mean. He was covering up. He was covering up for like 4 strikes. I mean, if you're not really moving, like, yeah. Now, granted, the strikes might have not been super effective, but at the same time, you gotta do something. Like, if you just sitting here like I can block this shit all I want, but if I'm just standing like in fetal position for like a certain amount of time, niggas gonna call the fight, bro. But Asul Balve and Charles Johnson, bro. Let me tell you, my personal opinion, Asul Balve might have had to be the performance, the masterclass of the year, bro. And this might be prison of the moment, because you know what? We got a lot of fights to go in this year of 2026. But Asul Balve, bro. This, I mean, go back to the preview show. I said what I said. I'm like, Asul Balve, he's a better overall fighter. That's exactly what I said. And he proved, you know, without a shot of a doubt, that he was beyond a better fighter than Charles Johnson. From the start, from the leg kicks, the calf kicks, the level changer in his strikes. He never, and shout out, you know what, I'll give the commentary their flowers on this one. I forgot who said it, but they said that Asul Balve never throw the same thing twice. And that's because his nice striking IQ and his level changes was fucking phenomenal, bro. I mean, shout out to AJ Styles. For niggas that watch WWE wrestling, you know his character gimmick. It's the phenomenal one. Well, Asul Balve, he was the phenomenal one tonight, because that was a pure, that wasn't even a striking out masterclass. That was just a pure mixed martial arts performance right there, display. From the grappling department, from the striking department, from kicking at a range, and just the way he was being dynamic. He was a very dynamic striker. He, again, this might have been his, like they said, this might have been his best performance, because he's good with his boxing and kickboxing, but he ain't this dynamic. You know, when we talk about dynamic strikers of the UFC, we don't put Asul Balve in that category. We just say, like, overall, he's a good overall balanced fighter. We don't call him dynamic. Like I'll give you one off the top of my head, like Lando Veneta. Like, now maybe to our new fans, Lando Veneta is a bum, but when Lando Veneta first came to the UFC, that nigga was phenomenal, bro. I mean, I never seen anything like Lando Veneta. And now, yeah, he fallen off the cliff severely, but shit like that, Wonder Boy Thompson, you know, during Wonder Boy's prime, that karate, he kind of took, like, and that's what Anthony Showtime Pettis was supposed to be. Well, Showtime Pettis was, but Showtime Pettis, he was a balanced fighter, because he had jiu-jitsu, he had BJJ with the karate, but Wonder Boy Thompson's karate was much more polished than Showtime Pettis, and it was much more unique and much more beautiful than Showtime Pettis. But shit like that is like, that's what you call a dynamic striker. Asul Balve, he just put on a fucking phenomenal fucking, I'm running out of words, bro, but this shit was dynamic, bro. It was, whoo. Yeah, from the first round, second round, third round, Charles Johnson, he's got outclassed, bro. It was like Charles Johnson didn't even belong in the UFC. Asul Balve, like, this low key, this fight, Logan, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and it might be because I'm prison of the moment, but this fight was like TJ Dillashaw versus Joe Soto. When TJ fought Joe Soto, when TJ first got the bantamweight belt and he defended against Joe Soto, that fight wasn't even fucking close. And this how this shit was, bro. I remember that ass where TJ gave Joe Soto, even like Sugar Sean O'Malley and Chris Matano. Like, this was just a pure ass whooping, which is why I'm saying, I'm like, the shit is fucking crazy with Charles Johnson, because how in the hell did he beat Joshua Van and Logan Kavanaugh? But then it's kind of like he get done dirty like this, you know what I mean? But this was a masterclass. I mean, the grappling department, like, even like when he caught Charles Johnson kicks, and then he tripped him up. That was phenomenal. when he took him down, he shot him for the takedown, got him against the cage and used the cage as leverage to take him down. That was phenomenal. The level strike changes, even like going with a 1-2 and then a fucking a low kick, but then a 1-2 and an up high kick. That shit was phenomenal. The fucking, you know, everything, bro. And then obviously that third round, you know, he got him out of there with the rare Sulevov stretch, and that's just like, oh my god. And the crazy thing is, Sulevov, as we call it, the flow state, I don't even think he really worked on that shit. It was just he was in the zone, and you know, with his IQ and awareness, he's able to improvise and adapt, and he pulled this shit off, bruh. Like, I mean, I'm running out of words, bro. This, I'm gonna put it in the title. Honestly, I'm gonna put his name in the title. Sulevov. This might have been the most. Now I know niggas probably gonna say what Justin Gaethje did to Ilya Topuria, but or what Cyril Gane did to Alex Pereira, because Cyril Gane really shut down Alex Pereira like no other. But Sulevov might have had the performance of the year, bro. Performance of the year, definitely submission of the year. Now, submission of the year, I'm willing to die on my shield that moving forward from here on out, because we're in the middle of the year now, but we still got a lot of fights to go. Moving forward, I'm confident in saying that nobody's gonna have a submission like a Sulevov. To tell you the truth, we low key seen a submission of the year on last week's card with the Manel Cap and Koji Horiguchi card, but this one definitely just tops it all for real. But Sulevov, man, that nigga's gonna be tough. We're gonna talk about him on Monday too. Ikram Aliskerov and Bruno Ferreira. The only thing about this fight that shocked me was his boxing. Like, Ikram Aliskerov, his boxing was this the Ikram that I thought that could be in a way competitive fight with Robert Whittaker. Now, Ikram, he bounced back after the Robert Whittaker fight, but that his last fight wasn't as impressive as this fight. This fight right here, he just completely shut Bruno Ferreira down. I thought in the way his boxing improved in this fight from last fight, this the Ikram Aliskerov I was talking about going into that Robert Whittaker fight. And man, just the 1-2s, and then he had, and his level changes too was nice. The fucking the 1-2, the flying knee into a takedown. That's, man, he got them flying knees on point. It's like fucking Corey Sandhagen. Like, Corey Sandhagen got them flying knees down to a T, and Igor Aliskerov, he got them flying knees down to a pack and got that shit in his repertoire, and his boxing's improved. Man, Ikram, the more he improved, I'm telling you, I've said now, y'all probably heard me saying it now, but I was saying this shit way back then, bruh. Like, way back then. Ikram Aliskerov, he can be middleweight champ, because he already got the grappling on point, but now it's like I'm actually, for the first time, and like I said, his last fight, yeah, he won, but it wasn't really all that impressive. It was kind of like Ikram's style, but this fight right here was actually impressive, especially because he beat somebody like Bruno Ferreira. And on top of that, his boxing. I didn't expect, that's the only thing, like I said, that's the only thing about this fight that I didn't really expect was Ikram's boxing. Because his boxing has improved, and his kickboxing improved. So, I mean, I said it way back then. I'm going to say it now, bro. Within time, Igor Aliskerov, he's going to be middleweight champion. I'm telling y'all niggas now. And going to the opening fight, Abyss. I mean, this was a good showcase for middleweight, and this was definitely a good showcase for middleweight. Definitely a good showcase for middleweight. But he did his thing, crippled Michael, and they got the submission dub. Man, bruh. that he had a impressive performance too. But this was a good fight card. This was a good fight night card. So the rest of the shit we're gonna talk about on Monday. And like I said on the previous show, I did correct myself because I thought we had another fight week going into next week, but they taking a week off for International Fight Week, which is understandable. Because now, because we're taking a week off, now niggas is gonna be fiending for International Fight Week instead of now. As the MMA purist and the MMA fan in me, I do like seeing fights every week, but every now and then it's good to have a break like this, where you can just reset, or even if you're that much of an MMA fiend, you can go and check out some other MMA shit. Like I normally do, like every other. If I'm not making content, like I say, I am into other sports. As obviously, I can see I've been wearing a lot of Pittsburgh merch, but I do check out a lot of other MMA content. Like One Championship, Rising, even like the Indian promotion, it's called Matrix. I do check out that, but weeks like this where we have an off break, it's good. It's good, but it's actually gonna do wonders for the UFC because Conor McGregor coming back for International Fight Week, and because we're not gonna have anything fight related for next week, niggas are gonna be starving for some UFC fighting, and what better way to come back to UFC fighting than Conor McGregor? So, but overall, UFC Baku was a success. The crowd was lit. And going back to Matthews Camilo, he shut down the crowd, bro. Like, good God. If Shara would have lost against Michelle Pajeda, the crowd, I think the crowd would have been solid for the rest of the night. Because when Matthews did that shit to Nasdeen Satkakov, that crowd went completely silent. But other than that, the crowd was lit. It was a good night of fighting. We got to see the best submission of the year in El Sulbave with that Sulivov stretch. So, yeah, it was a success. But anyway, it's your boy DHP. This concludes my official UFC Baku review. I'll see y'all on Monday.